Welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I ask that you please subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, it's all things MTN 8 Wafa Wafa. So, the game that I'm going to preview today is Orlando Pirates versus Swallows, the original Soweto derby. So, let's get straight into it. I will start with Swallows and then go into Orlando Pirates. So, the red team will represent Swallows. So, in goals, we'll have Virgil Fries. At right back, you have Vuyomere. Wandisile Tlabika as a centre back. And then on the left side at centre half, you could have Junaid Said, or you could have Sibia in there. And then at left back, you've got Thabo Matlaba. So, very important to mention that going into the new season, Swallows have lost a couple of key players. So, at left back, we know that Shanti has joined Chiefs. And then Jabulo Ngobo, who played as the right-sided centre half, joined Chiefs as well. So, we will see a couple of changes to their back line. However, like I had mentioned, at right back, we have Vuyomere, and then as a right-sided centre half, you could have Junaid Said, or you could have Litlabika, and then on this side, Litlabika or Junaid Said or Sibia, because they are very comfortable either playing as the left-sided centre half or the right-sided centre half. So let me then go with Junaid Said for the purposes of this episode. However, it could change. It could be a different centre back on the day, and then we'll have Wandisile Litlabika there. That's the back four. So Brandon Truter does like to go with a traditional 4-3-3, where they look to circulate the ball, they build up from the back, and they've got lots of triangulation. They occupy the half spaces, overload the central zones, and then look to switch to the other channel and then attack teams from that perspective. So when we then go into the midfield, their midfield three, most common midfield three, Mtetwa in there as the defensive midfielder. You got Cheeseboy Mokoena, and then you've got Kamuhelo Matlatsi. So in the midfield, a player who was very instrumental to their performances in the previous season was Given Tiberi. However, he's now gone back to Kaizer Chiefs. So that is what you'll most likely see within the midfield three of Swallows in this MTN 8 quarterfinal. So Mtetwa sitting as the defensive midfielder, Cheeseboy Mokoena there, and then you've got Kamuhelo Matlatsi playing in there. So then, when we then have a look at the forward line. So when we have a look at the forward line, Khamaldeen as your striker. You've got Basadine coming off the one side, Mbokoma coming off the other side. So another name to mention, Kgaugelo Sekgotha, who did play mostly as a left winger, but they would interchange depending on if it was Mbokoma or Basadine on this side. He also went to Kaizer Chiefs. So that's the 11 that you're potentially looking at. However, I would like to have a segment on Swallows where I give special mention, especially to the new signings. So, special mentions who could possibly feature. So, let's start at the back. When we look at it from a balanced perspective, and if Brandon Truter wants to have a balanced centre-back partnership, he could have Litlabika as the right-sided centre-back. As the left-sided centre-back, he could have Sussman in there because Sussman has joined Swallows. So he could have Sussman because Sussman, yes, is a left back. However, he's also very comfortable as a centre back. He can play as the left-sided centre half to start play. Or he could have Muhammad in there, who I think as the season progresses, he will partner Wandisile Litlabika, in my opinion. So I think going forward, that could be the centre-back partnership. Muhammad is the left-sided centre-half, Wandisile Litlabika is the right-sided centre-half. And then I think Thabo Matlaba stays at left-back, at right-back, Vuyomere stays there as well. And then in midfield, do know that they have signed Tandani Bibo Nchumayelo. So he's also another one who could potentially come into the midfield. However, I don't see that for this game. I see him going with the tried and tested and going with the lineup that he trusted throughout last season. Of course, with the exception of Given Tibedi leaving 2K's Chiefs. So then the midfield would stay the same. Where it gets interesting is up front then. I say that because they have also signed Mwape Musonda, who is a dangerous, lethal striker. You know, that is a striker who can bang in the goals. So that is a player who could then come into the Swallows side, which then could maybe see them play 2 up front and then maybe go to a 4-4-2. Do I see that happening with Brandon Truter? I don't know, because over the course of the season, he has shown that he loves the 4-3-3. We haven't really seen him tweak things from a tactical perspective, but having Mwape Musonda would then maybe just force his hand to tweak it and see how would he incorporate Khamaldeen and Mwape Musonda. Because personally, I would incorporate both. I would have Mwape Musonda as the target man. Khamaldeen could play off him, making those dangerous runs that he makes. And I think they could actually have a formidable partnership up front. And then also, another interesting player is Saleng. Saleng is a player who is an attacking player, very skillful, and he's also got an eye for goal. So then when you look at Saleng and you compare him to the other wingers in Basadine and Mbokoma's options, I think Saleng is a street ahead of both. And I say that because he's more complete from my perspective when you're looking at his technical ability, when you're looking at his eye for goal as well. So that is a player who could actually contribute so much. And when you look at Swallows in the past season, I think they struggled in the final third with regards to goals. Yes, they were very fluid, very good build-up, very fluid in the midfield. They'd rotate the ball very well. And then when it comes to the final third, they were heavily reliant on Khamaldeen. So with Mwape Musonda, a proven goal scorer, and Saleng, a player who's got an eye for goal coming in, I think that Brandon Truter should be looking to incorporate those 2 players and then have them as part and parcel, have them as a front 3, you know. So maybe on the right-hand side, you could maybe then start, you could have Khamaldeen, you know, obviously not as a traditional right winger, but sort of coming in a lot closer, you know, and then on the left-hand side, you could have Saleng coming from the left, and then you could have Mwape Musonda as the target man. However, when we are in play, because Vuyomere likes to give the width, he comes in. Or you could then have Saleng start on the right-hand side, looking to come in onto his left, and then start Khamaldeen a lot more tucked in, have Matlaba go, you know, you could have it like that, because then we did see that the fullbacks of Swallows in Matlaba at times, or Shanti on the left-hand side and then the right-hand side of Vuyomer, they would invert, you know. So there's so many things that Brandon Truter could do with this Swallows side, and I'd like to see him become a lot more tactically versatile by virtue of the fact that he's now got quality added to this side. He's got quality players that he can explore different formations with. So I would like to see that from his side. However, when we go back to he's tried and tested, we will go back to the 4-3-3. And like I mentioned, right back, you have Vuyomere at right centre half. You will have Junaid Sait in there. You'll have Wandisile Litlabika. You've got Tabo Matlaba. And then in the midfield, you've got Mtetwa, you've got Mokoena, you've got Mahlatsi. And then the front 3, you've got Mbokoma, Basadine, and Khamaldeen. However, yet again, I do want to mention that I personally would go with Saleng and Mwape Musonda, because those guys add a lot more goal threat, and that's where I think Swallows have been lacking. But anyway then, let's then go into Orlando Pirates, which will be the blue team. And yes, Zimbabwe, who is consistently inconsistent, he likes to go with a 4-2-3-1. So in goals, most likely, Richard Ofori. And then for this game, look, it could change, but the players who are available and fit, those are the players I'm going to go with. We do know that Happy Jelly couldn't play in the previous game, which was the Carling Black Label Cup, because he had picked up a knock. So I will then go with a centre-back pairing of Hlatshwayo and Nyawuza. And then at right back, Wade Euster. Left back becomes very interesting because now you've got Paseka Mako and you've got Innocent Mayela vying for that position. Who starts at left back? I don't know, but based off form and last season's performances, I would go with Paseka Mako as the left back. So there we can have Paseka Mako / Mayela. So at home, do let me know, who do you think should start at left back? Paseka Mako or Innocent Mayela? There's great competition for that position. I mean, there's even Bohani Sam there. We do know that there's Trolani, who's returned from loan as well. 4 quality players who could start in that position. However, I would go with Mako in there. That sees our back 4 shape up as that. Wade Euster, 2 centre-backs, Tyson, Hlatshwayo. You got Nyawuza in there, Paseka Mako in there. And then in midfield, you got the double pivot of Munari and Mutwari as well. And Mutwari in there, sorry. And then as your playmaker, your 10 to join, Makaringe, and then Hoto, and then Tembingosi Lorch, and then Mhango. However, to note that again, there are certain players who are out injured and Pirates haven't confirmed anything as of yet. So it could change. And even so, Salos as well. It could change, guys. You know, it could change. But this is most likely what we're going to see. So with regards then to Pirates, when we look at it from defensive perspective and then transitioning up into the midfield and then the forward line, do you know that Wade Euster is always going to go? He loves to overlap. And what we did see with Orlando Pirates is that sometimes what they do like doing is that they will invert Hoto, Wade Euster will go, and then they'll build up with a back 3, and then they'll have Lorch in there. Hlatshwayo will just come out here, and then you have Nyawuza there, and then they'll build up. But I think they'll swap. You have Nyawuza rather going there. He's more comfortable in that position. And then Hlatshwayo there, especially when they build up. So sometimes they do build up with the sort of a back 3, and then the ball will then be played into midfield. And that's when your Mutwari and your Munari will look to get onto the ball to feed those offensive players. Do know that Wade Euster starts very high on the right-hand side. Sometimes to his own detriment. And I say that because he gets caught out from a tactical perspective. On the left-hand side, what I love about Paseka Mako is that he's tactically versatile. He reads the game superbly. So he's the type of player who knows when he has to go and then when he has to just tuck in and just be defensive and just be disciplined. That's what I love about Paseka Mako, and I think that's what he has that Wade Euster doesn't have, is that know-how and that level of intelligence to be able to read the game. And then when we have a look at the double pivot, so important defensively, offensively. From a defensive perspective, important when it comes to ensuring that Swallows don't play in the midfield, because like I did mention, Swallows go with the 4-3-3. So lots of triangulation, lots of passing patterns that they love to institute on the field of play. So that double pivot will be very important to break that down in midfield. From an offensive perspective, very important when it comes to progressing the ball up the field. So then you do know that Munare will always look to get onto the ball and start play from deep. Same thing with Benjamin Untare, but it's more likely Munare. He's the one who's got the more forward, more progressive vertical pass. Mutsware sometimes can be a bit safe. He can go to the side sometimes. So then, when we then have a look at Hoto, Makaringe, and Lorch, very instrumental when it comes to getting onto the ball. So the thing then to note about Makaringe is that sometimes he does tend to drop a bit too deep into midfield for my liking. And I think there's already 2 players who are doing that job. Try get further up forward. Try get further up forward to support Mhango, because sometimes Mhango can be isolated, which is not good for Orlando Pirates, you know. Very important that he gets that support. And then when you have a look at Hoto, he will keep the width. He can come in, Thembinkosi Lorch, hey man, this guy roams. At times you'll find Thembinkosi Lorch picking up the ball here, trying to dictate play and trying to make things happen. But from a tactical perspective and a ball possession perspective, I think it's going to be very balanced. And I don't see one side thoroughly dominating ball possession. These are two sides that like to get their foot onto the ball and try dictate terms and try play. So I think then the game will be won in midfield, especially when it comes to what Mtetwa will be looking to do with regards to his defensive approach when it comes to stopping those Orlando Pirates playmakers in Lorch whenever he does come in and look to link up play, in Makaringa as well whenever they do overload the central zones. So this game is one for the midfielders. You know, both midfields are thoroughly packed because this 4-2-3-1 of Zimbabwe's very flexible because Makaringa just drops in and then it becomes then it can easily become a 4-3-3, you know. So at times it will become a 4-3-3 by virtue of the fact that Swallows, when they are dominating proceedings, Makaringa has to drop in and help out. So I see this as the game of midfielders, and in my opinion, I think the game will be won in midfield. However, then, to pick out key players for this game. So when I look at Swallows, I will start with Swallows. And Swallows, in my opinion, the key player will be Mtetwa. And he's going to be very important when it comes to ensuring that Orlando Pirates don't get a control of the game. And that whenever they do overload Zone 14, the half spaces, the central zones, that they're not able to thoroughly play. So if he can break down play, very important, get Swallows away and get them on the counter whenever Pirates are in the opposition half, whenever they do occupy Swallows' territory, because we do know that Orlando Pirates back four doesn't have much speed, you know, except the exception of obviously Wade Euster and Marco, but these two centre-backs, you can get at them. So I think then that will be the key player for Swallows coming into this game. And then when we have a look at who could potentially come off the bench, because I think Swallows have a very strong bench. I think their bench has players who can actually start the game. Saleng and Musonda, I think they can come onto the game. They can come into the game and influence the game. They can get you that winner, and they can be very decisive within this game. So then when we have a look at Orlando Pirates with regards to who will be their key player, Thembinkosi Lorch will be their key player, especially when it comes to dictating terms, getting Orlando Pirates onto the front foot and playing, you know. He is a player who, personally, I saw glimpses in the Carling Black Label Cup. Yes, there were moments where he made mistakes. Yes, his passing wasn't that crisp. But there are moments where I saw glimpses of the old Thembinkosi Lorch, you know, where he was getting onto the ball, where he was confident to drop into midfield, get the ball, and play those 1-2s. So I think he's going to be very important in this game, especially when it comes to creating opportunities for Mhango. You know, he's a player that if you create a lot of opportunities for him, he will score those opportunities. So I see it as a very tightly contested game. So then that is a great segue to the extra time segment where I give my prediction. So on Diski Talk with Liolo, we keep it as objective as possible. So my prediction then is Orlando Pirates will win this game 1-0. I don't see it as a high-scoring encounter, especially because I think both teams will tactically nullify one another by virtue of the fact that Swallows will have three in midfield. At some point, you'll see Makaringa dropping into midfield. So I think they'll be looking to nullify each other. We're going to see a chess game, if anything. And I don't think anyone wants to lose this game, especially when it comes to Orlando Pirates, because Orlando Pirates will look to retain their MTN 8 title. And I think by virtue of its format and the amount of games you play, it's the easiest trophy to win for any side within the MTN 8 with regards to the format and the amount of games. I'm not talking about quality, guys, because all 8 teams within the MTN 8 quarterfinal are thoroughly quality footballing sides. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Do let me know. What is your prediction? Who do you think will come out tops? Who do you think will advance to the semi-final from the original Soweto derby in Orlando Pirates versus Swallows? So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of a very special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. I thoroughly enjoyed dissecting Orlando Pirates and Swallows and having a look at some of their new players as well. So, do let me know who wins this one. MTN 8 Wafa Wafa signing out.